Today we're going to talk about phonics, another major component of reading. These are our learning objectives for phonics: to understand and learn to apply the phonological units, to recognize and learn to apply ELL's home language as a foundation and strength, to understand sound spelling patterns in phonics, the structural analysis of words, and to understand and use both oral language and writing in phonics instruction. So the definition of phonics is basically the relationship between the letters and the sounds. So phonics happens, or teaching of phonics happens in the classroom when the teachers are teaching the relationship between the sound and the letter. So this is A, it makes A, like an apple. That is phonics. To understand sound spelling patterns and phonics, we have to look at the way our letters and our sounds are structured. In the English language, we have 26 letters of the alphabet. However, also in the English language, we have 44 phonemes or sounds. So this particular slide, and you can pause it at any time, tells you the various sounds that are made. Like if you look under the vowel sounds, the A sound, the second one down, the A sound, can be spelled various ways. It can be spelled with an A consonant and an E at the end. It can be with just an A, like in baby. It can be with AI. It can be with AY, EY, or EIGH. That's a lot of ways to say the same vowel sound, the long sound of A. And again, we have the consonant sounds as well. So here are some basic interesting pieces of information about consonants. You know that there are 21 consonants. Y kind of goes both ways. It can be used as a vowel or as a consonant. But consonants don't say their name, except in words like X-ray, where X is sort of set apart. Most consonants have one sound, but some have more than one sound. So the C can say K or S. G can say G or J. S can say S or Sh. And the X actually has three sounds. It can say X like in box. It can say Gz like in exit. And it can say Z like in xylophone. A very common mistake in some classrooms is the letter R, what sound that makes. I've heard teachers say that R says R does not say It sounds more like a barking dog, R. Think of the word run. We don't say run. We say n, run. So R makes the R sound. We also have consonants that are voiced or unvoiced. That means there's air going through it and it kind of vibrates at the bottom of your throat, or there's not. So if you say the sound, those quotation marks mean sound. If you say the sound for the letter D, so it's D, and you put your hand at the base of your throat and say D, D, you are going to feel the vibrations in your throat. But if you do the same thing with a T sound, you will not hear the vibrations in your throat. Take some time and check this one out. When you get to the bottom of the slide here, you'll notice there's a TH on both sides because the TH on the voice sound is V, like in mother, mother. It kind of like that buzzing sound, tickles your tongue, mother. And then the other one would be like in moth, moth. So it's a voiced or unvoiced. W, and then wh, w like in water, and wh like in what do you mean? Going on, the letter Q in the English language is always followed by a U. Together they make two sounds, qu. I told you about the letter X. No English words end in the letters V or J. I learned this by playing Words with Friends. It's a great rule to remember. The J sound is always spelled with GE or DGE, and the v is always followed by an E at the end in English words. Then there are a couple more things that you need to know here. Consonant blends are 2 or 3 consonants which blend together. You can hear all the sounds in blends. So street, I can still hear the st, r, street. Cast, I still hear the st, but it's a blend. They go together. Digraphs, however, are 2 consonants and they represent a single speech sound. So shoe, the S and the H together make a sh sound. If we were to consider them a blend, it might sound something like sahoo, but instead it's shoe, thimble, and chair. So on the next slides, I've just given you some ways words can be spelled and the various sounds they make. I think it helps us to know why it can be confusing for children. We are automatic readers. Most adults are automatic readers, and at some point in your reading instruction, you became an automatic reader. That's probably because you had a good teacher and parents that read to you. However, some children don't have those, I want to say they're right, but I'd like to think they're right, but they don't always have a teacher that teaches them the sounds and parents that read to them. So it's nice for you to see how things are spelled and what they sound like. Here are more. And here are the short vowel sounds. So a, e, I, There's some key words. We actually do physical hand movements for these to help children know at our lab school at Florida Southern College. So it's interesting to put those with them. And like as in foot, compared to like as in food. Learning how to teach phonics is complicated. There are many ways that different programs basically talk about. I'm only going to show you one way and then talk about something else. I would really consider looking at your own district's structure of teaching phonics, because I think that that is probably the way that they want you to do that. This one actually comes from the National Right to Read Foundation. So I'm not going to do a lot of commenting on the slides, but as we go through them, you will see what they've laid out. So this particular slide shows you the materials that you need for your phonics teaching. Basically, they say to start with the short vowels and some consonant sounds. Next, some 2-letter blends. Now this is where I differ a little bit in my belief, because I think it's confusing to say that B plus the A is ba, because in an open syllable, which we'll talk about later, it's really bay. So I think that teaching students to blend the letters, yes, but I think you're going to need to blend them with a consonant using the closed syllable way of teaching, and we'll get to that in just a few minutes. So this is basically closed syllables. And then these are blends or plurals, digraphs, high-frequency words that don't follow the phonics rules, long vowel sounds, which can also follow the rules of syllables that you'll see in just a few moments, diphthongs. So these are vowels that form a new sound, but you can hear them individually. And then this basically tells you how to keep the phonics instruction going. Now on the next slide, you're going to see another kind of approach, and that is to teach by syllables instead of sounding out each and every letter. And I think that you will see that this is very beneficial. Reading by syllables is a far more effective way to teach children to read than reading with individual letters. The first thing you need to know is that every syllable has a vowel sound. Sometimes the vowel sound is the only thing in the syllable, like in the word about. Is the only vowel sound, and it's the only sound in that syllable. But every syllable has a vowel sound. And it's usually the vowel sounds that trip students up because they don't know what sound the vowel makes. Pay attention as I go through the different types of syllables on the next slides. The first syllable we're going to talk about is a closed syllable. It is a syllable that ends in a consonant at the end of the syllable. The consonant represents a closed door, and it makes the vowel short. So remember, short vowels don't say their names. It's a, I, So rabbit. Put it together, rabbit. Napkin. Put it together, napkin. Basket. Put it together, basket. Open syllables, as you can see, do not have a door at the end. They don't have a consonant at the end of that syllable, and the vowel sound is generally long. We say that the vowel can run out saying its name. So instead it would say A, E, I, O, or U, or U. So sen. You notice that sen is a closed syllable, so it still is short, but cho is open. The vowel is at the end of that syllable, so it says its name. Pre is open. Fix is closed with the consonant at the end. Pre is open. Fix is closed. Prefix. And then do, nut. The next syllable is known as the silent, or sometimes referred to as the magic E, and it's the E at the end of the syllable changing a closed syllable to another type of syllable, the silent or the magic E. And when we place the E at the end of that syllable, the magic of the E is that it changes that vowel sound from short to long. So tap becomes tape. Hop becomes hope. And so now if you look down at the examples I have, in the first word we have rep, which is a closed syllable. That's how I knew that was a short vowel. But T-I-L-E is the silent or the magic E, so I know that that I says its name. Tile, reptile. Fee is open. Line is the silent E. Trom is closed. Bone is the silent E. So kids can generally get the sounds of consonants. It's the vowels that really mess them up when they're reading. So knowing these particular words can help. Now let's talk about vowel teams. There are a lot of vowel teams. But vowel teams are two vowels when put together make a sound. Please do not use the old and outdated saying, when two vowels go walking together, the first one does the talking, or however it went. That is not always true, and you will completely confuse kids. But look at these particular vowel teams. They make one sound. So sail, boat. Chim is closed syllable. Knee, vowel team. But see, EY can also make the A sound, like in hay. So we can't use that rule about when two vowels go walking, the first one does the talking. Not true, just very confusing. Yell is a closed syllable. Low, even though W is not a vowel, it's considered a vowel team because together OW makes a vowel sound. Here here are some vowel teams for you to look at. You can see how these work together and the sounds that they make. Here are more vowel teams. There are a lot of vowel teams, and they take some time for us to work with students. The next type of syllable is the R-controlled syllable. When R follows a vowel, the vowel can no longer make the sound that it was intended to make. It cannot make a short or a long sound because it's controlled by the R. So we call it a bossy R sometimes. So in the word turtle, if we were to separate T-U-R, we would typically say it's T, and then R. But you don't say it that way. T-ura is not correct. So instead we say T-er, T-er. So tur, and then toll. So alarm, fork, dessert, girl-ish, and fur. Now we have the consonant LE syllable. That is the syllable where LE is directly preceded by a consonant. When that is the case, the consonant sounds and then the ending is ul. So ap, pull, be, toll, cas, sol. That's kind of a weird one because the T is kind of silent there. Table. So now we have some stages of phonics, so pre-alphabetic. These actually very closely rely on fluency, so you might see these stages in one of the fluency articles that you are going to read or have read. So we have the reading levels, the pre-alphabetic stage, and I'm going to let you read this to see what that incurs. In the pre-alphabetic stage, students may memorize words and pretend to read. You see this a lot in preschool, younger students. They learn concepts about books and print, and they do a lot of picture talk. They can take you through an entire book and tell the story based upon the pictures. Students that do this are in the pre-alphabetic stage. In the partial alphabetic stage, students are starting to learn to read. They're starting to learn that letter-sound connection. Just pause the video and continue to look at this. In the partial alphabetic stage, students, again, learn the letter-sound connections, and they use a variety of strategies to figure out the words, and that's okay. They use letters with context to remember words by sight, and their writing might look something like this. Typically, in this partial alphabetic stage, students will be able to get the first letter of a word correct, and then secondly, they would progress to the last letters of the words. They can hear those sounds first. It's the middle letters or the vowel sounds that really can trip them up. This is the full alphabetic stage, also known as the graphophonemic stage. Pause and take a look at this. Students here gain the ability to match up. They really are learning how the phonemes and graphemes go together within individual words. And they start to really know the writing system and the sound system and are putting it together. They also are starting to decode unfamiliar words, hopefully by syllables, because of all the sight words they have in their memory and knowing the types of syllables. In the consolidated alphabetic stage, students are able to pronounce words by recalling. They use their knowledge of word parts, so it might be even some morpheme knowledge here, so prefixes, suffixes, root words, and they really connect spelling as part of the reading process. Remember that research has confirmed that spelling instruction improves students' ability to read and decode words. If you are teaching spelling in isolation of teaching reading, the students are not going to make the connection. You have to make the connection by teaching those things together. So now let's talk about phonics instruction. I've provided you with some resources that you will want to look at. So Reading Rockets talks a lot about some strategies that are great for working with students in the beginning phonics stages and also those that are struggling with their phonics. There are more resources on the basics of phonics instruction. I encourage you to take the time to look at those and read them carefully. Here are more research-based phonics instruction articles. They're not very long. Again, take the time to really look at those and take some notes. It will definitely help you. Then we want to talk about our ELL students in phonics. So ELL students will struggle with phonics largely because we have 26 letters and 44 phonemes, and they don't match up like they should, all the letters and the sounds. So you're going to have to really look into these articles for ELL learners and do some research on how best to teach phonics to ELL learners. That's why I've provided these articles for you. So what if you're teaching in middle and high school? It's not the same. Phonics instruction is not the same in the upper grades. It can't be. We cannot insult the intelligence of our middle and high school students by starting back with, Dick Likes Jane or whatever those books are. But instead, there's some great research out there on working with middle and high school students. It says ELL students, but it'll also work with those struggling students. So be sure to take a look at these. Phonics is the key to reading. If you can't pronounce the words, you're not going to be able to understand what you read. Go back, watch this video again, and access all of the resources.